Hello and welcome to my kitchen. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make ghee from scratch. And when I say from scratch, I mean from scratch. So I've got some cream, we're gonna make butter from the cream, and then from that butter, we're gonna make some ghee. And the reason I'm doing this video is because when I posted my original ghee making video, I got a comment from a viewer in Australia. Thank you, Rajashekar, for your comment. And he told me how they make ghee in India and how good this ghee tastes because it's so pure and so clean. So what they do in India is they get their fresh milk from their cows and they take the cream off the top and they collect it over a few days. And when they have enough cream, what they do is they make a yogurt from that cream, and then they churn that yogurt to make butter, and then from that butter you get your ghee. So that's what I'm going to show you. I don't have a farm or access to fresh milk from cows per se, but I do have some fresh cream, so let's get cooking. So to get started, I've got a 600 ml container of double cream here, and I've got my saucepan ready. And what we're going to do is we're going to gently heat up the cream until it's almost to a boil. So if you have a cooking thermometer, then definitely use that and bring the cream to a temperature of 180 degrees Fahrenheit or about 83 degrees Celsius. So now I'm going to heat this up on a medium heat, the number 5. Now while the cream is heating up, I'm getting my equipment ready to make the yogurt, or the scientific word, to incubate the yogurt. So here I've just got a Pyrex container with a lid, and I've also got a large saucepan because what we're going to do is we're going to put this container into the saucepan, put some boiling water on the outside surrounding it, and then we're going to gently put the lid, this plastic lid, on the glass container and the saucepan lid onto the pot and stick it in the oven to incubate. And my milk has already heated up, so I'm actually going to turn off the heat and let this cool. So you could see that my cream was bubbling up a little bit, and that's fine. It's just going to take a little bit longer now to make it cool down. So now what we want to do is bring the temperature down of the cream until it's lukewarm. To expedite the cooling down process, I'm using a cold water bath. So I've just got another saucepan with some cold water in it, and I've put my pot of cream in there. So we want to bring the cream down to a lukewarm temperature, which is about 44 degrees centigrade or 110 to 115 degrees Fahrenheit. That cold water bath definitely helped my cream to cool down quicker. So now I've got my yogurt here, and this is a 500 gram container of yogurt, and I'm going to add just less than half of this container to my cream. And we just want to mix it to break up any lumps of yogurt that are in there. Then carefully pour the cream and yogurt mixture into the container that you're going to use to incubate the yogurt. We're going to put that container into the saucepan and surround it with some boiling water, being very careful to make sure that none of that water gets into our yogurt and cream mixture. And we want to make sure that there's plenty of boiling water surrounding the yogurt and cream mixture. And then we're going to cover the saucepan, and I'm going to put this whole thing into the oven and leave it in there overnight and check it tomorrow. Now notice that I haven't turned my oven on. This is just a warm place for the yogurt to do its thing. So this has been incubating in the oven for a good 20 to 24 hours. So now I'm going to remove it and let it cool down in the refrigerator. So just make sure you wipe the outside of the container because it will be wet. And be very careful while you're doing this because you don't want to shake up the yogurt mixture that is in here. Now at this point you want to make sure that you cool the yogurt until it's completely set, and you can leave it in there for a day or two, that's totally fine, but you have to make sure that it's chilled and set before you start churning the butter. Because if you take the yogurt out of the incubation and start churning straight away, you're not going to make butter. Trust me, it comes out all runny and it just doesn't come together right. So make sure you don't skip the chilling process. My yogurt has been in the fridge for 3 days now, and that's just because I didn't get to it in 2 days, and you can see that it's still fine. It's set really nicely and it doesn't move around when I move the bowl around, so it's really set nicely. So the next step now is to put it into my KitchenAid, and I'm going to whisk it up to churn it into butter. And what will happen there is the butter fats will separate and the buttermilk will separate, and you have to keep an eye on it because if you don't watch it, the buttermilk will splatter everywhere. Now this process takes between 20 to 30 minutes, just depending on the type of food processor that you're using. We're 5 minutes into the mixing, and now the yogurt is forming soft to medium peaks here, so we are going to continue churning. And now at 10 minutes of whisking, it's definitely fully whisked cream looking, so it's definitely solidified, and very soon we are going to have butter and buttermilk in here. So we're going to continue whisking. After 15 minutes of whisking, I'm going to increase my speed slightly from the number 4 to the number 6. And so here it is. You can see the butter and the buttermilk. You see how that's separated out? But there's a little bit of like thick yogurt stuck in the whisk here, so I'm actually gonna just put that into the mix and see if I can churn it just a little bit more. And there you have it. You've got your butter fats right here, and the liquid that's left behind is buttermilk. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna separate this out. Now to separate it, I like to first of all remove all the butter from the whisk and clean the whisk as best as I can. Then I'm going to try and press all the butter together into a lump. And then we're going to strain the buttermilk. And I'm going to try and squeeze as much of the buttermilk out of the butter as I can. And this buttermilk you can actually use in dokra, or you can use it in like a chas or curry or whatever, you know, whatever you want to use it in. It's actually really good. You can make dressings from it. So don't throw it away. Don't think that you're wasting it. It's actually delicious. So now that we've got our butter and our buttermilk separated, we can start making the ghee. And to do that, I've got a medium-sized heavy bottom pan here. I'm going to go ahead and put my butter in there. And when you're putting the butter in, if a little bit of buttermilk goes into the pan, don't worry too much about that. So now we're going to start off our heat for this, and this time I'm using my like small to medium ring for that. I'm going to start the heat on a very low heat, the number 1. This has been going for 5 minutes now, and you can see how the butter has melted nicely, and all this white stuff here are the milk solids or some of the buttermilk that was left inside the butter. And what we want to do is cook all of that off and just be left with beautiful golden ghee. This has been going for almost 10 minutes now, and it's gently bubbling, so I like to use a spatter guard just so that the bubbles don't go everywhere and I don't get hurt, because sometimes the bubbles come up and I've burnt myself a couple of times, so it's a good precaution. And it does let the air and the moisture out, so this has got plenty of holes in there. This has been cooking now for 20 minutes, and you can see how the bubbles are much clearer than they were before. Before they were kind of white because there was so much milk solids in there. And this, you can tell when this is done, when the milk solids start like sticking to the bottom. So this has still got a little ways to go. We're going to let this continue to cook. Now, just to let you know, there is a difference between clarified butter and ghee. The difference is basically clarified butter is where you have all the fats from the butter and that's it. No milk solids in there. Whereas ghee is taken a step further, and it's where you've got the clarified butter, but you cook it a little bit longer to allow the milk solids to sit and caramelize at the bottom, and that gives the fat that's left over a delicious caramelly flavor, which is definitely what our ghee tastes like. It's so delicious. So if you didn't know that, there's a little bit of information for you. All right, this looks like it's almost there. So there's very little floating at the top here now, and you can see that some of the milk solids have sat at the bottom and they are starting to stick, and that's what you want. So at this point, I'm going to add a few teaspoons of water in here, just sprinkle it on top. Just 2 teaspoons. And what this does is it will give the ghee a slightly different texture, a little bit grainy, and that's how we like it. But if you don't want to add the water, that's totally fine. Just let it cook, and at this point we're going to let that water that I just added in here evaporate. At this point I can see that the bubbles are completely clean. Any other solids are off to the side here. And it looks like my ghee is done. This was cooking for about 3 minutes after I put in that water. So it's been a total of about 30 minutes that this ghee has cooked. So I'm going to turn off the heat and let this cool down a bit. Now, if you haven't seen my original video on how to make perfect ghee every time, I'll put a link to that up here. So definitely check that out. My ghee has been cooling for a good 30 minutes now, so it's just cooled down enough so that I can sieve it into a bottle. So I've just got an empty clean jar here and a fine sieve, and we're going to go ahead and sieve this. And you can see at the bottom of the pan, I've got all the caramelized milk solids. And some people like to eat this. You can add sugar to it and eat it. That's your choice, or you can throw it away. So there you have it. How to make desi ghee or ghee from cream. And oh my goodness, it smells so good. I hope you guys definitely try this recipe. I know it takes a long time, but the ghee tastes different, very clean and very pure. So give it a go and see whether you prefer it from ghee made with just butter bought from the store. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. If you did, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And if you're enjoying my recipes, then definitely share them, tell your friends and family. I'll see you all soon for some more cooking inspiration.